Welcome to this explainer. If you're looking for a serious, highly practical deep dive to pass the time on a long flight, or you just want to really master your retirement strategy, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's just dive right into this. For decades, the standard financial advice has pretty much been to delay your Social Security benefits as long as humanly possible, right? We're constantly told to wait until 70 to maximize that monthly check. But what if I told you that age 62 is where the government basically sets a trap and 2/3 of Americans walk straight into it? Or, well, actually, what if the trap is the act of waiting itself? Today, we're breaking down the complex math and the real-life variables that prove exactly why filing at 62 might actually be your magic number. Okay, so get this. The sheer mystery here is actually fascinating. Did you know the Social Security Administration used to have a break-even calculator right on their own website? Seriously, it was a tool built by the government to help citizens make literally one of the most critical financial decisions of their lives. But then, poof, they removed it entirely. Gone. Why? Because they sat back and watched citizens systematically misuse it. People were treating this generic starting point as a final, absolute answer. They just didn't realize that the math is way more complicated than simply picking a break-even age.
Right, to really wrap our heads around this, let's look at what I call the faucet analogy. Think of your Social Security as a faucet connected to a pressurized pipe in the wall. Now, every year you wait, the pressure builds. If you wait until 70, you've got maximum pressure, so when you finally turn it on, the water flows way faster and harder. But here is the absolutely crucial point. That faucet is yours. You paid for it your entire working life. If you wait too long before turning it on, some of that water just sits in the pipe. You never drink it, it permanently evaporates, and guess what? Nobody refunds you for the lost pressure. So the real debate isn't just about maximizing the monthly drop, it's about making sure you actually get the water before it's gone for good.
Let's put some real numbers to this with a quick case study. Meet Professor Pat. He earned a very realistic upper-middle-class income of about $90,000 in his final working year. So Pat has three main choices here. He can open the faucet early at 62 and collect $2,238 a month. He can wait until his full retirement age of 67 for $3,198 a month. Or he can hold off and delay to 70 for maximum pressure at $3,966 a month. Now, the classic advice says always delay for the bigger check. But let's look at what happens when we run the actual life expectancy math on this.
Just look at this number, $72,000. The Social Security Administration's own actuarial tables assume that if you have already made it to age 62 without a major health catastrophe, your life expectancy is actually around 84 years old. That's a lot higher than the typical average at birth age of 79. So if Professor Pat lives to that exact age of 84, and we assume zero cost of living adjustments just for a second, filing early at 62 actually wins. He collects roughly $615,000 total. By filing at 77, sure, he gets more per month, but for far fewer months, meaning filing early puts an extra $72,000 right in his pocket.
But hold on a second, it's a massive gamble. You might be sitting there thinking, great, I'll just file at 62 and be done with it. Not so fast. If you tweak that life expectancy assumption by just 3 years, say dropping it from 84 down to 81, suddenly waiting until 67 is the mathematically superior play. And if you drop it even further to 78, filing at 62 and 67 are practically identical. You see, the real problem isn't choosing early versus late. The problem is that none of us know exactly when we're going to die. That uncertainty is the entire game.
And literally right when you think you've got it all figured out, boom, we have to factor in the cost of living adjustment, or COLA. In traditional break-even models, COLA is often just set to 0 to make the math easy. But Social Security actually adjusts for inflation. And because COLA acts exactly like compound interest, a 3% increase on a delayed $3,966 benefit is vastly larger than a 3% increase on an early $2,238 benefit. Over a lifetime, that gap absolutely explodes. When you add realistic COLA assumptions back into the mix, delaying to 70 versus filing at 62 can create a staggering $246,000 difference in lifetime payouts. Seriously, the math is incredibly complex.
Now, before we get into the exact, highly specific reasons why you still might want to take the money at 62 despite that massive COLA gap we just talked about, take a quick second to subscribe to Langford Invests. If you want more deep dive explainer strategies that break down real-world financial mechanics just like this one, hitting subscribe ensures you won't miss out on the tools you absolutely need to protect your wealth.
All right, let's get right into the 7 legitimate reasons you might actually want to file early. Reasons 1 and 2 really focus on the realities of human life. First off, if your health is genuinely bad or your family history is poor, your pipe is leaking.
You need to open that faucet right now so you actually extract value from a system you spent your whole life paying into. Second, there's the reality of the go-go years versus the no-go years. Look, spending patterns in retirement naturally follow a curve. You want to actually enjoy your wealth while you are physically capable of doing so. Having money at 63 to go travel the world is vastly different than having a bigger pile of money at 79 when your calendar is just full of doctor's appointments. That is a timing problem, guys, not a math problem, and filing early solves it.
Moving on to reason number 3. This is a coordination play that folks miss all the time: unlocking spousal benefits. If your spouse didn't work quite long enough or just has a much lower benefit than you, they're eligible for up to 50% of your full retirement age benefit. But here's the huge catch: they cannot access a single dime of that spousal benefit until you file. By filing at 62, you instantly unlock that income stream for your entire household way sooner. If you just blindly delay until 70, you are literally leaving years of your spouse's potential income sitting right on the table.
Next up is reason 4, which we call the Sandra strategy: navigating a terminal diagnosis.
This is arguably the most counterintuitive yet financially vital reason to file early. So here's how this works. Sandra is 62. She's married to a higher-earning husband who, unfortunately, has a really serious heart condition. Sandra's own benefit at 62 is $2,100 a month. Her husband's full benefit is $3,600. The strategy here is actually brilliant. Sandra files for her own benefit right now at 62. She collects her smaller amount while her husband is still alive. Then, tragically, when her husband passes away when Sandra hits 69, she seamlessly switches over to inherit his much larger $3,600 survivor benefit. She effectively double dips in the most logical way possible.
So, the crucial point here is what happens if Sandra had just listened to standard advice and waited. If she waited until 67, she would have gotten a slightly higher personal benefit of $2,900. But because her husband passed away when she was 69, she was always going to switch to his survivor benefit anyway. By filing at 62, Sandra collected approximately $176,000 of her own money over those 7 years. If she had delayed, that entire $176,000 would have been left completely uncollected in the pipe. Just gone.
All right, reason number 5, the market crash hedge. This perfectly reveals how Social Security interacts with your broader investment portfolio. Imagine finally retiring and the stock market immediately drops 40%. Ouch. Liquidating your stocks at a 50% loss just to pay for your groceries absolutely destroys your portfolio's ability to ever recover. But if you turn on Social Security early, it acts as this amazing pressure release valve. It gives you a guaranteed income floor so you can just stop selling your depressed assets. And conversely, if you haven't started drawing down your investments yet, you can use that guaranteed monthly government income to aggressively buy into those discounted equities while everyone else is out there panic selling.
Rounding out our list, reasons 6 and 7 are what I call our final triggers. First, the tax torpedo. After age 73, you are forced by the IRS to take required minimum distributions from your retirement accounts, which heavily spikes your taxable income. Filing for Social Security early, during lower income years before those RMDs hit, allows you to collect years of benefits that are taxed very lightly. And finally, reason 7, sometimes you just need the money. Medical bills, business failures, unexpected emergencies. Look, Social Security is a foundational safety net. Opening the faucet early because you simply need the water to survive is not a failure, it is literally the entire point of the system.
Now, to be totally fair and objective here, there are absolutely times when delaying truly is the optimal move. If you are in absolutely perfect health, you have robust savings, you have zero other pension income, and your spouse already has their own really high benefit amount, delaying is powerful. Remember that $246,000 COLA gap we talked about earlier? Yeah, it's very real. Delaying your benefit is essentially a guaranteed 8% return on your deferred money. If your investment portfolio isn't consistently beating 8% annually, holding off until 70 under these perfect conditions is mathematically the superior choice.
But we also really have to look at the source of the advice you usually get on this stuff. The financial planning industry has a massive structural incentive to tell you to delay. Why? Because advisors who manage your assets earn their fees based on your total portfolio size. If you draw Social Security early, you don't need to spend as much of your portfolio. That means their fee base stays larger, for a lot longer. It's not necessarily some big corrupt conspiracy, but it is an inherent incentive that you absolutely need to be aware of when an advisor blindly tells you to wait until you're 70.
So that brings us right back to square one. The Social Security Administration deleted their calculator because people treated it as a simple generic math test.
But as we've seen today, it's not a generic optimization problem. It's a deeply personal financial decision packed with hundreds of variables. The real question isn't, should I file early or delay? The actual most important question to ask yourself today is, which of these 7 conditions apply to my life right now? Take a hard look at your health, coordinate with your spouse, and evaluate the market. Your magic number is out there. You just have to know your own variables to find it.